Darlings, it's time to talk about the black dress from Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's hard to imagine a more iconic film fashion moment than the opening of Breakfast at Tiffany's. Maybe the only thing that has come close in the last 25 years is the green dress from Atonement, but what makes this such a powerful moment is not just because this dress is exquisite, which obviously it is. It's also the time in which this film came out and the fact that the clothes are helping to tell the story and tell us who this person is. Audrey Hepburn gets out of the taxi. She's wearing an evening dress. It's early in the morning. It's clear that she's been out all night. She's dressed up. She's been out with people, but now she has chosen to be alone. She took this taxi here to Fifth Avenue to look into the windows at Tiffany. She's looking at something behind glass. So you can see this like yearning for something. She's not yearning for jewelry, obviously. Tiffany's represents a feeling of safety and belonging for her. Now, obviously, Audrey Hepburn and Givenchy did not invent the little black dress, but it's important to take into account the cultural context of this particular moment. Breakfast at Tiffany's came out in 1961, and the 60s was a time of huge liberation for women. The pill was readily available in the United States starting in 1960, and so it was the start of the sexual revolution, and Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's kind of embodies shifting ideas about what a woman could and should be in the world. 1950s styles were hugely inspired by Dior's new look, which voluminous skirts, very feminine silhouettes, and particularly in the US, even though the bar suit is black and white, in the US it was all about returning to color, femininity, traditional ideas. The boys were back from war, it was time to be nice housewives and make a bunch of babies. Sam Wasson talks a lot about this in his great book, Fifth Avenue 5 a.m. that's all about making breakfast at Tiffany's. It's a really fun read if you're into it. He says about black and black dresses, traditionally color is feminine. The more eye-catching the women are, the more easily they can lure. Consequently, those without color, say dressed in all black, can go about almost unnoticed. Where the rainbow is conspicuous, their darkness acts as a kind of camouflage, masculine by contrast, and allows them to watch without being watched. It is the choice of someone who needs not to attract, someone self-sufficient, someone more distant, less knowable, and ultimately mysterious, powerful. He also goes on to say, in the 19th century, when women would often stay in all black for years after their husband's death, it was a surefire sign of widowhood to the men passing by. It signified the wearer's knowledge of sex. In the 40s and 50s, black was seen on women, but it was usually like femme fatales in noir films. It was supposed to be kind of a bad girl. Audrey Hepburn was an ingenue. She played princesses. She played good girls. But now, as Holly Golightly, who now we would probably say is a sugar baby, Sam Wasson says in his book, it was one of the earliest pictures to ask us to be sympathetic towards a slightly immoral young woman. Beyond just the color, I think Givenchy was also ahead of the curve because he cut dresses to women's bodies. He wasn't trying to idealize the female form. It wasn't about girdles, it wasn't about sucking in the waist, it was just cut to an actual body. Again, from this book, speaking about Givenchy's style and designs, he felt you didn't need to use a lot of accessories or embellishments and based dresses on the shape of a woman as they were, not as he or the culture wanted them to be. That was kind of a first in fashion, and it took glamour from the remote and unattainable and made it practical. After Tiffany's, anyone, no matter their financial situation, could be chic every day and everywhere. Journalist and founder of Miss Magazine, Letty Cotton Pogrobin, I'm so sorry about how I pronounce that, talks about the influence that seeing Breakfast at Tiffany's had on her. The fact that she was living on her own at a time when women simply weren't, it was very validating to me. It was very affirming. She was a single girl living a life of her own, and she could have an active sex life that wasn't morally questionable. I had never seen that before. Back in 1961, all we had to represent change was a young male president, but morally nothing had changed. We were exactly in the same place. Then came Audrey Hepburn, this very good girl, so it can't be wrong, right? All of this cultural change, all of this stuff that Holly Golightly represents is encapsulated in this one opening sequence and just incredibly expressed in this black dress, this moment early in the morning in front of Tiffany's. It's an incredible fashion moment. That's why we remember it. That's why we love it. That's why it's being referenced again and again and again, because it speaks about women's liberation, about freedom, about a new kind of outlook of glamour and expressing yourself. And I could talk about this forever.